Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another hashtag Finance Friday. And today I am super excited to have one of my clients. Her name is Anneke Olivier, and she is the director of Bengals Consulting. And we've been doing a little bit of work together, especially over the December holidays is when it started. I had these lofty ideas that I would actually have a December holiday, but then I started talking to Anneke and that was not the case. But nevertheless, Anneke, I'm so happy to have you here today. Please just go ahead, introduce yourself the way that you like to be introduced so that our audience know who you are.
Right, thank you very much, Kristine. So as you've heard, I'm Director of Bengals Consulting. We focus on people that have tax for people that either have a disability or a family member that's disabled, because they can access bigger tax rebates. And this is something that hit really close to home. My son is on the spectrum. And when I was first approached by the previous director, Richard, I need to get involved here. So my whole life's passion has sort of converted to helping these people. It's become more than just doing tax. It's become more than just doing finance. That's just sort of almost become a sideline thing. Primarily, we're helping people and we're helping them get access to these rebates, and that in turn is helping them access services for their children, special schools for their children, care homes for family members. So that's really what the passion has become. And I do have a lot of financial background in terms of accounting and business rescue and all of this, but this has really just been so close to my heart. And I'm very recently become director. I've been working for the company for a few years, and I was given the option to buy the company in November. And of course, I grabbed it with both hands. And that's when I ran to Kristine and told her neither of us is going to have a holiday.
Okay, well, maybe tell us a little bit about what the situation was like when you took over this business, because often when we take over a business or we buy into a business, we don't know exactly what we're getting ourselves into. We think we know, especially if, as you've said, you have been employed by the company before, or like for a number of years. So you've got some experience with them. But buying into a company and actually being in charge of a company is a totally different ball game, right? So what was that like, and what were some of the teething issues, if you want to call it that you found, or problems that you felt that you would be able to resolve better than what was being done previously?
Okay, so when I was offered to buy the business out, of course I'm excited and yes, like I love doing the work and so on, but you don't always realize the other factors that come into play with being the director of the company. There's so many new things you need to start thinking about. There's suddenly you're thinking, yeah, I just love doing taxes. But now you have 70 million admin tasks that need to happen. If something goes down, if something needs to improve, it's really you that need to do it. And then suddenly other things come into play. So even though the company, it's always been stable, I've always had my salary, it's never been a concern of, oh my gosh, it's a sinking ship. Like it's never been like that. But now suddenly I'm the person that needs to set up a budget. I need to be planning for the future. I need to be tracking. I've always had targets, but I need to be tracking these things now. I need to stay on top of it. I need to make sure that, if we're not reaching goals, that why are we not getting there? And teething issues specifically was getting that budget together and just having that plan for the future, and just getting a plan into place of, okay, right, if I want to achieve this, and this goal, okay, cool, we need to do this. So these were quite hard because we actually quite blessed to be in a situation where we have too much work to do. So between having to clear a ton of tax cases, these things also needed to happen. And that's really why I approached UPvisor. I met you on a online thing months ago. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
So you did an online, yeah, you do. Okay, so I met you on that thing and I was so inspired. I'm like, oh wow, like if I ever need something done, I'm just going to phone this person. So the first thing I thought of doing was, I've just bought this company. There's a ton of work that needs my attention, work that actually brings in fees.
Yes.
I need to make sure that I continue to focus on that, but I want a lot of other things to fall into place, but I can't do both.
Yeah.
And that's really been a struggle also, because I'm also the type of person that like to do everything myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to work around the clock, and that's something I've gotten used to. Is we used to work weekends, evenings, all sorts of hours,
Sure.
and that was something that I was strongly feeling should be sort of fixed. I know we shouldn't be working 24/7.
Yeah.
And we need to find a sort of a balance, and we need to find efficiencies that's going to allow us to find that balance. And then, of course, the most important thing being client service. If you get to a position where you're working 24/7 to keep up with client demand, it's a double-edged sword, because yeah, wonderful, we've got so much work, we don't even have enough hands for it, but you also want to give the best service possible to the client. You want to have a quick turnaround time. You want to keep them happy. And that's, you need to make sure that everything is running as absolutely efficiently as possible.
I'm with you. Yeah, so it's been quite interesting just journeying this out with you guys. And as we have transitioned into different processes and doing an entire system migration, which was a first for me, but which was really interesting, just to try and see how everything comes together and to make sure that the solution that we're coming up with actually suits your needs, right? Because it's easy to come up with a solution that looks wonderful and seems like it will work really, really well, but actually just doesn't talk to those needs. So maybe tell us a little bit about how that process of transition has been for you. Like, were there, as we were going through this process, were there additional areas that you were like, actually, maybe we need to look at that one as well? Because I find that sometimes as you start scratching the surface, you realize that there are the underlying issues that one also needs to address.
Absolutely. So very specifically, okay, well, if I can just back up to when we first engaged, because I was thinking, okay, maybe we should, because we've never before used tax software, okay? And this is something I've been playing with in my head for a while, but it's also a huge undertaking and also a massive commitment, because you're going to spend hours getting onto the system, and what if we're not happy with the system?
Exactly.
So I mean, I guess I have commitment issues. I'm just going to say it. But so I was browsing for systems and asking on forums and watching YouTube videos, but that's about it. So you have these little glances of systems, and I mean, are we just going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo? I don't know. I guess I guess everybody used these. I'm sure none of them are terrible. So what firstly was really a wow moment was I told you, listen, we need a tax system. So you went out, and I was expecting you to just come back and tell me, okay, well, this is a good option and it's a good price, so let's roll with that one. But you actually came back with a full report on 3 different systems, and it was the 3 top systems, I guess. And not only their costing, but the saving we would have, and how the system would actually pay for itself by the efficiencies that it's creating, because we're still doing a lot of manual work, and it's one dedicated person doing hours of manual work that a system can do. So your calculations took into account, well, if you use the software, this is really the time you're going to save, and we can better utilize this person to actually be a fee generating person.
Yes.
Which is really fantastic. And that was a big reason why I wanted to look at a system, is because of those manual things. The moment you're doing something so manually and sitting for hours doing something that a system can do for you, and you've introduced things like Power BI, why are we checking things manually? Why are we taking 2-3 hours to do certain reporting if you can just click and it's there?
Refresh and then it's there. It's awesome.
And it's there. So and it's not like a lot of people would be, okay, cool, let's save money, let's get rid of this person that did the manual work. No, we can reassign it. There's a ton of work. We'll better utilize it. And in that way, you retain your team, you upskill everyone. So that's really been fantastic. But going onto the system, I think I think the absolute biggest value that UPvisor has brought for me is just being that connection between us, and I'm going to just name them, Great Soft. I don't know if you're listening. Just being the connection between us, because I speak tax and they speak IT.
Yeah.
And if they tell me, oh, this is an HTML coding, I'm like, what? I don't know. I want this form. I don't know what you're talking about. I just want this form.
Yeah.
So what has really added such a huge amount of value to me is you just being the connection between us and Greatsoft. And I think that's made the switch over process 70 times easier than it would have been.
Absolutely.
Because I would have taken time out of my work to communicate with people about things that I don't necessarily understand. Yes, I understand how the system works after the training, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But the setup and like the tedious things like assigning certain things, making sure the data import is done. You made sure that, you know, all the clients from my e-filing is showing on Greatsoft. You know, those are things that really took hours out of my life. And really, I just felt like I said, okay, Kristine, we need great software. You found Greatsoft. And 2-3 weeks later, you're like, okay, cool, we're on. Here's some training, and we're running.
Yeah.
So it's really made the process, you know, as pain-free. Like it's absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. What I've really liked about our relationship is the way that it sort of changed from the initial conversation, right? Where maybe like back in the day, the conversation was around business coaching, and then it became about the system migration, and now there's just been, I think, a little bit more of a trust relationship that's been built up, and from a things like financial advisory perspective, and not in the space of insurance and all of those fancy things that I'm not allowed to advise on. But from this financial perspective, it's actually just been really awesome being able to journey with you guys and starting to talk around strategy and figuring out like, cool, if your team is going to grow, like what is the implication going to be? What sort of target you need to hit to get to that point? So I've really enjoyed that part of the journey.
Yeah, and what I like is so the budgets we've been working on. So like I'm from a financial background, and as I've mentioned, I'm qualified business rescue practitioner, all of these things. So I know how to do this. But the problem is just the time, you know. As long as I can pay things, I've not bothered with that as yet because the amount of work that I need to get through.
Yeah.
But I know how crucially important it is to not only have a budget, but to have a forecast.
Yes.
Because the forecast isn't really just there to make sure you hit targets. It's also there to make sure you grow. Because you need to up those targets as you go along, and you need to assess, you know, are you hitting them? Why, if you aren't, why are you not? So now we've basically put down this financial blueprint. And you've made it so easy because I just sent you, like, there's everything. And you put down this blueprint. Yeah, there we go. It's just there. So you put down this blueprint, and now I can sort of hold myself accountable to it. So our previous director always mentioned that being director of a company is a lonely journey because there's a lot of things you can't talk about to anybody. You can't talk to employee. You can't talk to parents, family, a spouse. Some of the things you really just keep to yourself. And it's not necessarily because you're stressing. It's not necessarily because you don't want to cause chaos. It's just that it's really personal. I mean, you don't go out showing your bank statement to people. Like that's personal. So this is sort of the same. Yeah. And you find that it's really lonely. And yes, I can set up a budget, but then it's just this document for me, and I'm probably just to save it in a folder, and it's going to be there, and I'm not going to look at it. But now with you and getting to know you over these few weeks, what's been nice is just to have that person to talk to. It's like having a business psychologist or shrink. Yeah. Like, hi, can we talk? And sometimes it has just been for like bouncing things off of you. So we were talking about targets earlier. I can say earlier this week, where I've worked out, I think this is what our target should be, and this is how I worked it out. And we back and forth. Okay, awesome. Where without you, I would have just like had a board meeting on my own. Yeah. And like had no other inputs. So it's really nice just to have that person to talk to. And now with the budget, I'm accountable, which is it's quite cool because I know at the end of this month or potentially the start of next month, we're going to sit and we're going to say, listen, this is what we forecast for the month. Yep. This is actually how we performed. Absolutely. So you've overachieved, well done, high five around, or we're going to be, okay, cool, we missed a target. Why did we miss it? What can we fix next month? And I think just having that mindset of having that accountability partner really just improves your commitment. And it just keeps your focus, because you need to make sure. It's like having to go weigh in when you're on a diet, you know this person is going to weigh you on Friday, so just keep the junk out of your mouth, because you're going to sit and have to look at them and explain why you gained weight. So that's how it feels to me. So that's really been valuable. And now also taking over a business, like a ongoing business, suddenly like this, it's just nice to have that blueprint, because I'm not used to running this company's finances. And I need to get into certain habits. I need to start remembering to provide for certain things. And yes, I know all of this, but you get so consumed in work. And when you look again, it's like the third week of the month, like what's happened? So now I at least have this thing that I can measure myself against. It's the second week of the month. Let's check how far we are. Are we going to hit these goals? And I do think that was really awesome. But I think, like I said earlier, just having that person to talk to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think not just for directors, for business owners, for top management, whatever the position you're in, it can definitely often be a lonely journey. And even if you don't have employees, and sometimes, especially if you don't have employees, it can be really lonely. So I think a lot of our listeners can attest to that fact. I just finally want to mention one thing that I've really been focusing on during our conversations with one another, and that has been about making sure that you remember you're the director and you do not necessarily need to be hands-on with everything. And I know it's been quite a tough thing. You said at the beginning, it's difficult for you to let go. But I think it's so important as business owners to make sure that the work is allocated at the appropriate level, because firstly, from a cost perspective, it just makes sense to do it that way. But also secondly, making sure that you're able to do your supervisory activities. You can't be busy in the everyday if you're needing to do the supervisory stuff as well. So I'm really encouraging you in that process to let go a little bit. And I think you've already seen the benefit of that, as we've just been maybe about 2 weeks even.
And I must admit, that's probably been the toughest thing for me, because my previous position was tax manager. So I'm used to having a million things on my plate, just making sure I'm serving as quickly as possible. But then, I need to shift. With going up to director, I had to shift downwards the work. But I'm so used to having all of this on my plate. It's like I must just do it. I can't just give it to someone. But I've quickly realized that you're not doing your clients any favors by doing this, because it doesn't help that I'm sitting with half the firm's work while the other staff are just chilling through the day.
And with nothing to do. I mean, where's the imbalance in that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, I sort of cause a bottleneck for myself, because I'm sitting with so much work. I can only do one thing at a time. And which means I'm really just delaying cases for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Okay, I'm going to ask you one final question as we close out. And this is a question we always have to ask on surveys, and you have to build up your score and rate it out of 1 to 10 and whatever. So the question is, would you recommend UPvisor to your friends, family, and clients? And I'm going to add in a little why there as well, if you don't mind sharing.
Oh, so absolutely. And I really think any business can benefit from this. I mean, yes, it sounds now complicated because it's tax software and, systems and all sorts of things. But it's really the same principle, just applied differently. Find the most efficient way to work smarter, not harder, and just put it into place. And I think for any business owner, even if you've been in business for years, just to have this support system for you as a director or owner or entrepreneur, just to have this support system to bounce things off of, just to help you with your forecast. You've got a big project coming up. I mean, get someone to help you, like you, to help with the financial management around it. Make sure that you are making profits. Be proactive and not reactive. And I think that's going to make the worlds of difference. So I think yes, obviously, some of these things are tough. We've put long hours into this, but gosh, the future is looking so bright, and I'm so excited. And I even feel, once we've started hitting those goals frequently, and everything is up and running, all the systems are wonderful, I would still continue to use UPvisor just to have that support system for the company. I think, considering growth, putting on a new employee, sometimes you think you need to add an employee, but you don't, So I really recommend it to anyone. And like I said, it's for any industry. It's not only going to be accounting firms. I mean, I know accounting firms are normally a mess. But
You're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're not technically accounting firms, so I can. So, just to get those efficiencies in. And if you're in sales, and it's also just that accountability. And I think being accountable and just reporting to someone, even though it's a person you hiring to report to, it makes the world worth of difference, because my goal is to make sure that I've reached the goals that we've made.
Yes.
Which is really wonderful. And at some points, you've even pushed me a bit harder. You're like, oh, I think we can do better here. And I guess you're right, we can. So I would really recommend it. And I would also, just from the perspective of not facing things alone. I mean, sometimes, things do happen in business, and this is now from history and things. Things will happen in business. You'll make an error, like COVID will happen, and suddenly just, like bowl everyone over. Having a person like you in place and having that built up relationship and having you already know the company. If we worked together a year ago before COVID, the moment COVID hit, I would just be, okay, Kristine, we need to adapt. You would already know the system, and you would already know, okay, cool, we need to do this and this and this. We don't have to, that would just make adapting to these unknown new things quicker, because you have the relationship with the company. Next time we go into a hard lockdown, my company, and you're going to be right. We can continue this. There's no reason to stress. And I think with what we've been going through, like the whole world's been going through in the past year, we need to be supporting each other, and we need to be looking at more efficient ways to work, because, I mean, any day now we can be sent home again, and then what?
Third wave is coming. We're seeing that.
No, that's the thing. So, I believe there's a lot of value in it. You get a lot of I shouldn't say this, but I will. You get a lot of business coaches, and when I see business coaches online, I'm like, I mean, this is someone that's been a CEO of a mega company. He has had an entire team below him to do all the really grunt work. And now he claims he can run owner-run business for you or improve it. No. They'll come in with unrealistic ideas, charge you a ton of money, and it's not really adding value. It's really just things you could have Googled. But with UPvisor, I've absolutely found, and I think it's partially because you're CA. You know business, and you're absolutely qualified to handle business. You're absolutely qualified to handle tax, management accounting, costings. I mean, I think that is really what gives UPvisor the edge, is because you are absolutely qualified. And when you look at these other business coaches, sorry for comparing it, but
okay.
how are they qualified? Because you can also find you'll get a CA, but they specialize in something very specific. Or they have for 30 years, which means the other knowledge isn't really as practiced. But where you have practiced all of them, and you work with businesses every day, a variety of businesses, so you really have the experience in knowing, okay, right, whatever the size of the business, whatever the scale of the work, the workforce, we can implement plans to make things just better.
Absolutely. Awesome. And I'm glad that you cannot see me blushing on the video camera right now.
I can see a bunch of business coaches going like this. It's not that I'm saying none of them are legit. It's just that you get a lot of fly-by-nights. And I think, unfortunately, that's given the industry a bit of a bad name. But UPvisor absolutely, stands out from the crowd.
Oh, thank you, Annika. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. It's been really cool, and I've really enjoyed working with you. And I look forward to seeing Wendels go from strength to strength, and with all the other ventures and activities that you're going to be up to in the next few months. I'm also looking forward to just journeying that out with you. So thank you so much for joining us. And this is another #Finance Friday. This is Kristine Tadok signing out. Bye.